What's good, y'all? I'm your host, Adam, and this is the Tier List, a video game podcast. And he's Finn, the less cool guest. You're the first person who has edited my document, but I appreciate it a lot. This is a seasonal video game podcast where a guest brings a game for the titular tier list. We talk about it, rank it, but you, the audience, get a say in where it will be placed by the end of the season. This is the season finale, by the way. Season 2, Episode 6. This is the last one. Get your votes in now. Every episode description has a straw poll link, which will let you vote for free, or you can also go to patreon.com/the tier list. We'll talk about that in a second, but thank you again for joining me on the season finale. It is I think you're a cool guest. I think you're a more cool guest if the way that I would put it. But we have Finn, which again, I'm going to call you Finn just because that's the way that I did
that's my name.
The thing. So yes, tell everyone about yourself, the things that you do, and then the game you brought for the season finale of the tier list.
Oh, sure thing. So I'm Finn. I run the NOLAnerdcast, a originally New Orleans-based podcast that has now gone beyond the borders of New Orleans. But basically, I do games. I do games PR. I help bring games to the West sometimes in my freelance life. It's fun. I get to meet cool people. I get to talk to cool people, like this Adam Gumbert guy. I don't know. He's pretty cool. Has something called the tier list. I might be on there one day. But yeah, basically, I just like talking to people and talking about games and trying not to let the soul-crushing depression of our industry in the last couple of years get in the way of the fact that games still can bring joy to people. So sometimes it's just nice to focus on that sometimes. And that's what we're going to do tonight. By talking about the greatest game to ever appear on the tier list, Final Fantasy VI, which is why it's episode 6. I thought that was appropriate. And yeah, Final Fantasy VI, or better known to those that originally played it in 1994 on the Super Nintendo in America, Final Fantasy III, which turns out it was Final Fantasy VI, and we just never knew for like years because we didn't have the internet, and we didn't know that there was anything other than the games we got in America. Because, yeah, if Nintendo Power called it Final Fantasy III, then damn it, that's what it was. So, that's me. That's what I'm bringing to the table. And that's how we're gonna go.
Right,
Saki
cool.
bless.
Yeah, I'm. Make sure to check out Finn's links down below because you do good stuff over there. Also, it was very funny telling people I was playing this game, and I got the whole Final Fantasy III spiel, and I was just like, "No, this is the game where you suplex a train. That's all that I need to know. Yep. That's all that I did know.
All you need to know. That's all you needed to know."
And that it's
and
funny.
It happens early enough that it's like great.
I also did not know. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but it being episode 6 and you picking Final Fantasy VI, I think that was a complete coincidence. But if you say it was on purpose, I'm going to believe you.
You know what? The thing about finding out that this is episode 6 means that I can retroactively make it on purpose and not a coincidence.
Nailed it. I love it.
You can't prove it.
I will not even try. Again, you can go to patreon.com/the tier list. It's a free place to vote if you want to vote on where all these games end up at the end of the season. Shout out to Patreon producer Manly Brian for supporting over there. Make sure to sub and review on podcast services. Follow me on socials at Adam Gumby or Tier List Gaming. Also go to youtube.com/Adam Gumby. Make sure you subscribe over there. All these links as well as Finn's info are in the description of the podcast, as long as that straw poll link as well.
I cannot believe Adam doxed me live on stream.
Everyone knows where you live. The exact address. But, all right, now I'm going to turn it over to you. I want you to tell me why you wanted to bring this for the show, maybe your history, the first time you played it, whatever, just an opening statement. Sure. And we don't have to put it on the tier list already. I know you might have a good idea, but where are you thinking about placing it based on my patented tier rankings?
S. And I know probably lots of guests come out here and say, like, this is my S game. And there's lots of S quality games. But Final Fantasy VI is definitively, I think, probably one of the upper echelons of its entire genre. It is clearly the most important one for me. So, quick history of why I care so much about this one. Dragon Warrior 1 on the NES, soon to be eventually relabeled Dragon Quest, but in America was Dragon Warrior, was my first RPG, and it was fine. Dragon Warrior 4, or Final Fantasy 1, was my next one, and it was good. Dragon Warrior 4 was the reason I began a lifelong love fest with the RPG genre. And Final Fantasy 3 is the game that cemented it and has, for the last 32 years, been my favorite game of all time. I revisit it frequently. I've played all the different versions of it, and I still come back to it. I remember distinctly, I didn't even have a Super Nintendo at the time. I had to borrow it from a friend during the summer vacation, and I wasn't allowed to play very long. And I don't know if you understand this about RPGs, but only being able to play 30-minute stretches isn't that long. So I would sneak and play at various times of the day. I was faking sicknesses. I was like, I can't go to camp. I'm sick.
Summer sickness is wild.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, and then you have to understand, like, this game was doing things no one had done before. And I'm talking just like the content of its plot. Like it was more mature and darker than anything we were getting in 1994, especially on a Nintendo system. It was dealing with genocide. It was dealing with suicide. It was dealing with teen pregnancy. It was dealing with all these kind of heavy topics that I didn't really quite know that these were, topics at the time, but I was just like, this feels different, because even Final Fantasy II, the one that we had all played before, was dealing with like character deaths and stuff. Like it felt important. This one was just on a whole nother level. And Final Fantasy 3/6 boasts one of the greatest villains in gaming, and easily one of the best villains in RPGs. That's why when everyone glazes Sephiroth, I'm just like, okay. I don't know. I feel like for me, no hate towards Final Fantasy VII, because it's another one I enjoy, but because 7 was so many people's first Final Fantasy, and was the first 3D one, and it's had production values up the wazoo for the time, that overshadows 6 all the time. And I get it. It's the financial juggernaut, so that's where it gets the love. But 6, there's a reason that if you look at any best of lists in the last like 3 decades, Final Fantasy VI always ranks higher than 7. Whenever, like, I remember when IGN, GameSpot, like, all the big outlets were doing, like, their best RPGs of all time thing, like, 6 always beat out, and well, deservedly so. Huge cast of characters. It was one of the first that didn't have a main character, because the main character had shifts throughout the game. And the villain's incredible. It has a mid-game twist that no one saw coming. And then the whole second half of the game becomes an open-ended, like, open world experience before that was even really a thing, where you could tackle things in any order you wanted to, do as much or as little side questing as you want. I don't know, man. There's just so much about this game. It allowed tons of customization for how you build your characters, how you build your team. Love it. Just no notes. One of the best soundtracks. The greatest boss theme of all time, Dancing Mad, has never been topped. One Winged Angel slaps for its first like 5 notes, and then Dancing Mad takes over for every other aspect. So that's a lot of talking for saying Final Fantasy VI is dope AF and deserves S tier.
I was gonna say, did you all that? And I think you said B earlier, but no, you actually did indeed say S instead of that.
Yeah, no, I would never put. If Final Fantasy VI was B tier, it's because A and S tier have not been discovered yet.
We will see when we get there. My thoughts. So funny enough, first time ever playing this video game. So that was fun getting. I did not beat it because it's a 30, 40 hour game.
It's a lengthy game, exactly.
And I only had like a week and a half, which is fine. But it was interesting to play for the first time. This was actually an interesting era in general because I didn't actually play a lot of JRPGs back in this day. Like, I didn't care about video games until 1998. So this entire generation I completely skipped over. And didn't play much of, even though I know there's a lot of influences back in the day. I mean, if it was a Ninja Turtle arcade game, I didn't care, basically, is what I'm meaning to say. But no.
Turtles in time, baby.
You got so good. So yeah, no, this was very interesting to play for the first time. I see a lot of influences that it had on other games. Also, just doing the research for this, there's a lot of interesting things about like this compared to like another game it inspired versus the whole drama between this and going to 7 and like the whole Square Nintendo. Oh, there's some cool stuff here, but I enjoyed it. There are Still, my qualms I have with JRPGs, especially old JRPGs, that I don't have nostalgia for, because when you have to think about it's 2026 and I'm playing this game for the first time, and it's like, oh, quality of life is not a word that existed apparently back in the day, which is fine. I don't want to hold it against it too much because like it was 1994. Like,
No, I mean,
it
yeah,
is what it is.
it is what it is.
But it still affects the way that I see a game when I'm playing it for the first time in 2026. But I will say, again, I don't rank it yet, but like very charming. I see why this is a lot of people's favorite games, or one of their favorite games, and I'm not upset, but it's wild that I completely missed this era of games just because I was too busy being 3 years old, I guess.
I feel like that's a fair reason.
Yeah, I mean, I did not care. I was like, Duck Hunt, maybe, I guess. I don't know. So I have some basic stuff pulled from Wikipedia over here. Final Fantasy VI is a 1994 role-playing video game developed and published by Square for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Set in a world with technology resembling the Second Industrial Revolution, the game's story follows an expanding cast that includes 14 permanent playable characters. Game was a commercial success, with the SNES and PlayStation versions selling over 3.48 million copies by 2023.
At that point, just say 3.5.
Yeah, I know,
like, come
right?
on.
That's why I'm like 3.48. But yeah, it's also been included in a lot of collections and stuff. So the number's bigger, but for 1994, 3.5 million copies is very good. But yeah, that's the basic stuff about it. Now we're going to the main part where we can talk about anything we want to. And don't let me forget. I have I have two things that I want to talk about the video game that I just found interesting. But I will let you start as the super fan, and as someone who knows the game better than me, I want to hear your opinions and what you think about this game, and I'll jump in. But I do have two things that I want to get across if we don't just naturally get there anyways.
That's fair. So I guess the first thing I want to ask is, how far did you get? I don't want to necessarily like go deep dive past that.
Well, we can go spoilers.
Okay.
Here's the thing that I like to do. I'll look at spoilers all the time. I don't care. I'll do it constantly. Okay. So I did not get to the big twist in the middle. I was probably 7, maybe 8-ish hours into it. Like I was still firmly in that beginning part, but I was like collecting the party and I was going through the conflict with the Empire and stuff like that, and meeting the name of the rebellion that I can't remember. Returners?
The Returners.
Yes. So I was like in that part. So I'm aware of the systems and some of the characters and all the things, but and then I looked up everything afterwards. So we don't have to worry about spoiling anything.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you missed out on one of the bigger gameplay mechanics when the Espers get introduced. So that's the magic system in the game. So right now, right where you are, like I believe Terra and Celis are the only people that have the ability to use magic.
Yeah, it's a big deal that Terra uses magic. Everyone tells me it's a huge deal.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. It is a huge deal because magic's been gone from the world for so long, narratively. And then the Espers are the magical creatures from back in the day that Terra is descended from. And gameplay-wise, they become pieces of magicite that you can equip to your characters, granting them the abilities of that Esper, and they can permanently learn the skills, and that's how all your other characters can learn magic, and each Esper grants different stat buffs upon level up, so you can actually get really cool upgrades to your characters based on how you want to build them by equipping certain Espers to them as you grind, and you can summon them into battle. That's how you do the summoning system. So I really like that aspect because one thing I really liked about 6 over 7 is as cool and as customizable as the materia system is. 7 for me was the start of the homogenization of the series where every character could do everything. It's why I like the really brief period of 9 that brought it back to that old school style. But I really like in 6 and before that 4 how every character was unique and had its own skills. Like outside of the limit break system in 7, everyone can do everything because of magicite. You don't have a thief like Locke. Anyone can have the steel materia, right? You don't have a mage. You don't have a like Edgar with his tools or Sabin with his monk skills and stuff like that. Like because everyone can learn everything. So I really like that in 6, you find your favorite characters, you build your team based around their abilities, and then the magic system augments that. And I really like that aspect. It's a nice mix of customization, but also each character has their own niche and their own skill set to bring to the table that you can then build upon. Like Shadow the Ninja can throw, and you can start picking up items and tossing them at enemies and getting various different effects. There's a character later on named Realm who can sketch an enemy and their duplicate will do one of their own attacks on them. There's a character named Gao who can then grind in his little area and learn the skill set of almost every enemy in the game. And there's just so much to it. And every character is also distinct personality-wise. Cayenne, the very proper knight character, versus Edgar, the womanizing king, and Locke, the wannabe womanizing adventurer. And I love it. And like Celis's character is so good for me that that's what my daughter's middle name is, Celis. So yeah, there's just, and I really like the way the plot progresses by a standard, by even by that time, evil empire, band of rebels, but then very quickly becomes something completely different when one of the bad guys on the Empire's team decides to go rogue, destroys the world, absorbs all magical power into his own self, becomes God, and destroys the world. And I think that's crazy because very rarely since then, and never really before then, to my knowledge, has the bad guy won. Right? That was such a wild concept to me. And that was the halfway point of the game. Like, everything is leading up to you stopping the Empire, and you think the floating continent area is this big finale moment. And then it's like, nah, bitch, you're at the halfway point. And everything is terrible. And all of your people are scattered across this destroyed world. And you have to bring everyone back together and try and find hope in a world that has lost everything. And I just think that's crazy. Never saw that coming.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I got to experience that in a world where there was no internet to spoil anything.
Yeah, that is a very cool twist. Yeah. Funny thing, because I'm not a Final Fantasy guy at all. I've tried a couple of them.
Yeah, I never do that. I never thought that about you.
Yeah, not a big one. So it's interesting to hear, like, because a lot of people, again, researching this going online, a lot of people do have that argument between like 7 or 6, and everyone's like 7 is the more iconic one because like it was at the right place, right time, and popularized the franchise, and people really got into it then. But a lot of people were like, no, 6 is the best one, but it just wasn't at the time whenever it needed to hit. So it's interesting to hear that 7 on was like became more straightforward, I suppose, because like I had no idea that. I just assumed, like in a lot of RPGs and playing this game, that all your characters had different abilities because like that's the point of like building a team, right? But to know that they can all just do whatever they want. I didn't know, because I do like this sort of a system where, yes, I have a thief and my thief can train up, and adding the little magic ability is cool too. But like, I like having a thief who does thief things. I like having a warrior who does, like, I just always thought that was a cool thing for RPGs. So it is crazy that Final Fantasy, I don't know, again, I have not played all these, but quote unquote turned their back on that and being like, no, we're going to make it a more, I don't know, easier experience to do. You would know better than I would, but that is an interesting turn, and I could see why people were like, I like the old days because I liked having individualized things about my characters.
I feel like it's very preferential. Like, I still enjoy all the other games, right? But it's like that for me was a loss of the genre, and it's an unfortunate victim of progress, I guess, because every game besides 9 started like 10's sphere grid or 8's junction system. It kept allowing you to basically allow your characters to do anything you wanted to, which is fine. And it's fun. You can break the game in really cool, creative ways with some loadouts, but I always miss it when I don't have dedicated characters to do cool, dedicated things.
Cool. I am actually just typing in another game. I have added a third thing to the points that I have just based on what you told me. That's very cool. But yeah, there is another part of this game that I found very intriguing, where it's not necessarily a main. I like anytime that you say we're getting a team. I'm putting together a team, right? If that's a heist movie, if that's whatever, I do like putting together a team, and they're all a bunch of weird, charming people. Like when I met the king guy who's a womanizer, I'm like, this guy is not even, I guess he's a womanizer, but he's like, oh, hello,
Yeah.
pretty lady. And I'm like, you're on the team, buddy. We'll have fun, you little
Right.
weirdo.
And he's super good too. And then his brother.
Yeah, which I had a random
Love
flash.
it.
That is actually one of my gripes that I'll give you. I mean, we're going to keep
Okay.
talking positive. And again, it's not its fault. It was
Well, hit the
1994.
grape. Hit the grape.
The lack of quest log, of direction, to know where to go in this game, and how to like do quests in this game, especially like at the very beginning part where the king guy he's got a sand castle. That's what I'm gonna call it. And you walk into the room, you talk to him, and then he basically like says a line about like go talk to people, and then he disappears. And if you don't pay attention to every line of dialogue, and the game you have no idea what to do. Like I was like, am I even supposed to be here?
I will 100% give that to you.
What am I doing?
Because I remember as a kid that literal part, because you have to talk to a specific person in the castle to progress. I thought I had, but I hadn't. So I'm walking around, I'm leaving the castle, I'm like, but you can't go anywhere else. The game at least doesn't let you wander too far off, right? Like, it kind of steamrolls you back there, and you're like, well, maybe I missed something. But yeah, I get it. Like, there is no quest marker. There is no waypoint. And whatever.
A journal would have been nice. I don't need you to hold my hand,
Yeah.
but a journal of, like, here's what's going on.
Correct.
Would have been amazing. But again, 1994, I guess I won't hold it against it. But I did.
And which version did you play?
I played Pixel Remaster.
Okay. I was wondering, like, what the quality of life upgrades were there.
I mean, I don't know compared to the original, but it felt nice to play. But yeah, there's no quest log. I don't think there's any of that stuff in that game.
Oh, it's got auto saves, auto battle.
Yeah, auto battle. I definitely
toggles
used that.
for battles. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's got a labeled world map. That's neat.
Oh, I don't know. I just played it, and it was what it was. But yeah, again, that's a thing of its time where they wanted you to take notes and all of that stuff, which is like cool, if I was a kid in 1994 with more time, but I did not. But again, I'm not going to hold it too much against it, but I did notice it.
Yeah.
So I'll put that out there. Cool question then. Going off of that, not at all. Battle system. Yep. I like the idea of the active time system. Like I always thought it was cool, it being more of on a timer than a straight up like okay, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Right. I like that it's more of a speed cooldown sort of an idea. I don't like the way that this game's active time battle works. I don't remember the game. Maybe it's a newer game is why. But I remember there being active time battle games where it's not a constantly running clock, but it's like there's a bar and it's like this is when you go, this is when that other character goes, this is the bad guy goes, and you can, based on the bar, you can tell when you should do things and not. And this game it's constantly running. So like when your bar fills up, you just got to hit it and hope it's the right character that's going. I do like I don't know if it's an old game, so it might not be an app.
I think there's several that do that you talk about. There's several that do that, and they're all post Final Fantasy VI.
Say they might be post, so it might not matter. So it was like I like this idea, but in practice, I was like, I don't know. But again, I just use auto battle for a lot of it. Yeah, that's fair. So, how do you feel about the active time battle in this game specifically? I guess is the question I was going.
I mean, I loved it because before that, the ones that came before it was much more stagnant. And this just made battles feel more dynamic in a time where, if it wasn't an action game like Zelda or something, you weren't getting that kind of fast-paced feel to it. And there are settings that you can put called like wait mode, where like when it's someone's turn, it stops the clock until you make a decision.
So yeah, I wish I'd have turned that on because that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's exactly the thing that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Well, there is that even in the Super Nintendo version, that was an option. So you just got to play with the settings a little.
I just didn't mess with that. But I do like that. I love the idea of, it makes me feel more active because, we'll look at things like Clair Obscur and all that. Technically, we are just pressing buttons on a menu whenever it's our turn to go. But doing anything to make that feel more interactive, I think, is a positive. Again, if it's Clair Obscur, we're talking about dodging and countering. This game being on a timeline and being able to like, okay, when this one is up, this person will heal, and then I'm going to have that guy attack because I like anything that's not just click attack, click defend. on the thing. Anything they can make, especially for a longer game. Like, yes, please give me something.
And you know what I love is like they even mix up how you play per character. Like there's a character named Setzer, and his ability is a slot machine, and you can time the slots to try and game a better outcome when you use his ability. Sabin, all of his attacks are Street Fighter inputs. I love that, like, because Super Nintendo, I'm playing Street Fighter 2, so I know how to do Hadouken. So I can pull off his abilities. And
that's definitely fun. The fighting game stuff. Yeah.
Everybody, again, feels unique, even in the way that they interact in the gameplay. So, and I gotta shout out one thing. You didn't get to this, but I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. You gotta love it.
Bless you.
Just watch it if you haven't yet. The opera scene.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've heard about the opera scene. I did not watch it, but I heard that the opera scene is a big deal.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. It's phenomenal. It's so well done. And again, for its time, mind-blowing. What it did with audio, and what it did with the soundtrack, and what it did with the dialogue. And it's a completely random moment in terms of a game. Like it stops all momentum of what your quests are doing, but you get so invested in it because you're like, wow, this is something special. And it still holds up. Like going back to it, like I said, I replay this game periodically just to make sure I'm not resting on pure nostalgia, but certain moments just still hit. And the soundtrack is such a big part of why this game resonated for so long. Is so many of the tracks still I can play on repeat in my head. So good.
Yeah, I do like just the stuff that I heard was cool. I also enjoyed the overworld. Again, I didn't do a ton of it, but having this spinning globe that you're walking on top of, I'm like, okay, that's fun. That's novel. I like that. That's
and that was such a big deal in the Super Nintendo. It was like Mode 6 is what they called it, and it's even cooler when you get the airship and you're moving faster and the whole world's turning up below you. But yeah, and graphically, this was top tier sprite work for a long time. I think the only game on the Super Nintendo that does it better is Chrono Trigger.
Okay. Very similar lineage there, right? I believe.
Exactly.
There were a couple people. Very cool. I've got, I'm just looking at points of the game. Here's the thing that I really like about the game. And this is just a cheat for anybody who's going to make fantasy stuff. Because you can, when it comes to the aesthetics and the art and the feeling of a fantasy world, people can very easily fall into just normal ass medieval, and there's a monster and all the monster designs are the same designs because we used all the same designs that Gary Gygax used back in the day or whatever. And I've heard that criticism about certain Final Fantasies where it's just this is generic ass fantasy stuff. I love how this, and I love this in general, when it's okay, magic used to exist, so we live in a fantasy world, but humans have forgotten about it, and now we have technology that is influenced by a world that has magic. So again, this is any of your steampunk stuff. This is this game, they call it Magitech or whatever. But when you give me a part of human history that I recognize as a point where it's this is human. Only humans make things like this. Only humans create things that are machines or that, billow smoke behind them and have. There's a very specific, aesthetic to that only human beings do, and you mix that with there are monsters and there is magic weaved into the world. I love that aesthetic. Again, that's why I like steampunk stuff. That's why I like Dishonored, where it's weird whale tech or whatever they call it. Give me not just, oh, we're going out to the field and there's a goblin. I mean, that's fine sometimes, but I do like this game being let's take a little twist on it. Industrial Revolution / magic. Do you like it? No? Yes?
I do. It's a really cool thing, even because especially they lay into it so heavily right out the gate when you have that moment where they're walking in the Magitech armor over the frozen landscape and they go into this town that's very clearly steampunk based. There's steam technology, there's vents everywhere, and you get told oh, magic is such a rare mystical thing that just finding someone that can use it is crazy to people and gets you hunted. And it's just cool. I love it, like because it's like you said, it's the mix of the world that was and the world that is.
That's very cool.
Also, fun fact:
Yeah,
Moogles were not introduced in this game, but they were popularized in this game. So this is the game that made Moogles so famous.
those are
Just
the
throw
little
that out
guys,
there.
right?
Yep, the little guys that can dance.
The little guys that stab. That's also the fun thing about, again, not knowing much about this series, but I know it's like technically they're all individual, but they reuse a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize these little birds and these little guys that dance around and stab people, but it's just like, why are these the guys that are popular? I wonder what made that popular out of everything else in the series, you know? Because I like them
I
too.
think
They're little weirdos.
For America, he was the cover art. The little Moogle was the original cover art for Super Nintendo. So that was like a big deal for us.
Ah, very interesting. Okay, that's neat. Is there? Because again, I have my 3 points that I want to break up. But is there
Okay.
anything we have not touched on yet that you want to talk about Final Fantasy VI before we start? Before I hit you with a bunch of BS and then we start heading towards the endings.
I mean, again, I just want to stress that Kefka is one of the greatest villains in video games. Um, he's such a dick. And I love it because sometimes, especially nowadays, having a villain be evil for the sake of being evil is so refreshing sometimes. We don't always need a tragic backstory that actually turns them into an anti-hero. We don't need a redemption arc for everybody. Sometimes someone just needs to be put down because they're a bad guy. And from poisoning, I don't know, again, I don't know how far he got, but he poisoned the entire water reservoir of that castle because he didn't really, didn't want to wait out a siege. He was like, well, I'm just going to murder everybody. I'm not going to ask for permission. I'm just going to do it. And then everything from there, and even before that, like he has such character. Like when you see him approaching the sandcastle and he's making people clean the sand off his boots. And he's also got the most ridiculous laugh. And people clown on him for his clown makeup. Like Sephiroth visually is the superior design, I think, in terms of like being the cool bad guy.
Yeah, he's hot.
But
They made him hot. That's what they did.
yeah, Kefka's just fucking batshit crazy and evil, and I love it for him. And sometimes I've got lots of other games and movies and stuff where the bad guy has depth to him and layers, but it's rare to have a game where you just hate somebody so much because they just do nothing but bad things to everyone around them.
Yeah, he's awful, and he does his little weird. I was like, "What is up with this laugh?" And I was like, "Oh, I eventually he's actually like going crazy from magic, basically, right? So that's why he's like a weird guy."
Yeah, so like if you want the reason, like he was an early test subject for what made Celis so powerful, infusing her with magic, and it kind of broke his brain a little.
So he's this is so stupid, and it's not even that good of a movie. So it's like not Final Fantasy, Fast and the Furious 10, where Jason Momoa gets hit so hard in the head he becomes crazy evil.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's 100% it. Exactly.
Kefka
Except
and Momoa.
magic.
Yeah, exactly the same guys. That's very cool.
Kefka and Momoa are two sides of the same coin, baby.
That's so funny. So I've got one last thing for you before I get into my nonsense. Because again, the twist in this game is such a cool thing. I enjoy that the most, I think, out of everything I watched from this game. How did that affect you when you first played it? And how do you feel like the story handles it post you failed?
Again, it blew my mind. I was not expecting that. I don't think any 10-year-old kid is expecting to lose their game when they just did everything right, so to speak. And I think the story, I was so blown away because the story is still so strong in the second half, but it's more disjointed in the sense that you can do things in any order you want, like refining all your characters and doing all the side quests that open up as you do so. You can beat the game with 3 people if you want to. You can get your airship, your original person, and one more person, and then you can just fly off and do the final fight if you were suicidal, I guess. I don't know, but you could. And that, I think, was so interesting back in the day. It was kind of like in Chrono Trigger, which came out like 2 years after, and you could just at any time go challenge the final boss. And it's just fun when the game gives you that. It definitely doesn't want you to, but it also makes for some really cool challenge runs when you start getting people that have really broken the system. But yeah, like, oh man, I love it so much.
Very
I love
cool.
it. The World of Balance and the World of Ruin. I prefer the World of Balance, but if I had to choose, because that's where you meet all the characters and you get some really cool moments. But World of Ruin's got some great dungeons and fights and side quests and stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, I appreciate a game that turns into Mad Max halfway through. So I have 3 points. I could have made myself some more notes, but I don't want to. I don't want to overdo it. So I just really quickly. This is just me reading, basically from Wikipedia. The whole thing between Final Fantasy, I guess Square, Nintendo, and then PlayStation, because this was the last game. Final Fantasy VI was the last
Final Fantasy.
Last Final Fantasy. Mainline Final Fantasy is what we're talking about from this.
Correct. Yeah.
Was the last one that appeared. They were testing Final Fantasy VII for N64. It was not working. PlayStation came by and said, hey, we have CD technology. This is going to be a big deal. And from that point on, from Final Fantasy VII on until, when was it? Final Fantasy in 2018 for the Nintendo Switch, there was no mainline Final Fantasy on Nintendo products at all. Like, they were best buddies. PlayStation came along, they said goodbye, we need better stuff, and Nintendo refused it. So basically for, what is that, almost a 20-year period, there was just no mainline Final Fantasies coming to Nintendo. It was basically just a PlayStation. That's why people think of, like, Final Fantasy as like a PlayStation, like Final Fantasy VII especially. It's like, yes, because it was only going there.
Exactly. For the longest time, like Nintendo losing Square Enix's, or at the time Squaresoft's partnership was one of the biggest reasons why the PlayStation just blew out the N64. Because you have to understand, like, the Super Nintendo was the place for RPGs, and then the N64 had like 2 RPGs in its entire timeline. Yeah. Every RPG went to PlayStation.
Yeah, everyone was
or to a lesser extent, like the Sega Saturn or Sega CD or something. But losing one of the biggest genres in games was crazy, and they did it because they were so insistent on cartridges.
Yeah, that is. There was only Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I do remember playing that game. But yeah, nothing until 2018.
No, but again, that was GameCube. That's what
I'm saying. That was how long before anything Final Fantasy was 10 years.
Yeah, heard.
And then, Nintendo Switch, 2018, they started re-releasing all of the older games onto that system. And then Final Fantasy, the third, what are they? What, Revelation? What is the next?
This next one is it's remake, Rebirth, Revelation.
Revelation. Yeah. Yes, that will be the first mainline game that launches day and date on Nintendo console since 1994.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. This, when I was looking through that, I'm like, that can't be right. And it's like, no, they are absolutely correct. And it was all because they were like, Nintendo's like, we don't want to leave cartridges. I mean, there's probably more to it than that, but that feels like a big part of it. So that's just a fun history thing. Next up for me, when I was playing this game, again, not playing a Final Fantasy very much, and I was like, this game, because everyone's like, oh, it's so influential, it's this and this. And I'm like, what games did this inspire? Like, when people say this influenced something, I'm like, please give me an example. Don't just say it and then not show me any receipts.
Right.
But a game did come to mind, and then I, looked around, did some research on it. And yes, I did play, when it came out, Octopath Traveler. And Octopath Traveler, and the devs have even said it themselves, is so influenced by this game, where it's a group of people. You play as a bunch of different characters, and you get them in different orders and all that stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, this is very, now looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, Octopath Traveler is just HD 2D Final Fantasy VI, like 100%. Have you played Octopath by any chance?
I sure have.
Are those comparisons make sense, or do you see the inspiration?
They're super apt. That was one of the reasons I was so huge on Octopath when it first dropped, is when they're saying, like, this is our spiritual successor to, like, Final Fantasy VI style of game. I'm like, you might as well just inject that into my veins.
And I need to play Zero, because I played 1 and 2, but I want to finish one of them, and I think Zero would probably be the one, because it's got town building, right? And I love town building.
Yes.
Anyways,
yes, it does.
Nothing to do with anything. The last thing when we were talking, and you were like, I can't really think of many games where you have a cast of characters. You know, you can kind of do things your own way. And then like the bad guy wins halfway through, and then you have to overcome it. And I don't know if anyone has talked about this game being an influence. I'm sure somebody has out there. But the first thing that came to my mind was Fire Emblem Three Houses. Because let me tell you about a game where you decide what characters you want to hang out with, what characters everyone has their defined roles. You can kind of change stuff up, but mostly it's like if they're going to be a mage, they get to pick one of the two mages. And there's a thing that happens at the halfway point of that game, and then there's 4 different endings depending on what you decided to do at that halfway point of the game. And the halfway point is not necessarily a positive. So I'm sure the people who made Fire Emblem Three Houses were also fans of Final Fantasy VI. I would not be shocked if that was true.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the second you said, I'm like, yeah, that's true. I usually, I guess, don't think of it because of like the different genre that they're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like plot wise, you're right.
I'm telling you, strategy games might be the best genre of video game out there. Maybe we've talked about that before. I don't know. But very good. All right, those are my random things that I had come up in my mind over the last little bit. We're going to move on to our closing section of the podcast here. This is where I'm going to start by reading any listener thoughts that people wrote on either Patreon or over on Blue Sky is the normal place I would find it. Dave Jackson, not really a full thing, but we were having fun. He said you're going to need a new tier above S for this one. Dave Jackson, apparently.
Dave Jackson with the sauce.
Do you know Dave Jackson? I know you do. I'm messing around. Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, good buddy of ours. Have you ever talked to Dave about this game? You guys ever had a conversation?
I have not. No.
Now you know.
This is me learning that he's a big fan too. Good for him.
Yeah, because he was episode 1 of this podcast, and he didn't say his game should be above an S tier, so maybe he likes this game more than he did Resident Evil 4. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. But that's just fun. Next up is Poppy the Keaton over on Blue Sky. Now, here's the thing. I don't know this quote, but you probably do. Love may go away like night into day. It's just a fading dream, but my love for this game remains to this day. I'm assuming somebody says that in the video game.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good stuff.
They also going to continue.
It's part of the opera scene.
Oh, see, I need to watch that opera scene. Apparently,
you do.
In the Pixel remaster, I think they added something voices to it.
I believe they voice acted it. I have full disclosure, I have not played the Pixel remaster version yet. My go-to is the Game Boy Advance one because I like the extra content they added. I will eventually get to it because I'm going to get a platinum trophy for Final Fantasy VI just out of spite.
Just to do it. I feel you. But the Poppy continues. I hope you're playing the SNES translation. I did not. It's the most powerful in my opinion. If you have time, I encourage you to do Gal's side quest when the time is right. Heckin' beautiful.
Yes.
That's the guy who can.
That's the feral child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, that's very cool. And thank you guys for
the
writing.
Side quest where you find out how he got abandoned in that place.
Oh, that's the part I want to see. That's the good stuff.
It's a very sad, but like melancholy quest. There's lots of sad back stuff in this game.
There is a lot. There's a lot of shit going on, but hey, that's war, That's real. That's life. Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone, for writing in over there. We're going to now go to the tier list itself, the patented tier list ranking. There's me on the left with my logo about where I want to place it, and then you with a very nice PNG over here on your side of the screen where you want to put it. Again, we've talked about it at the beginning. Are you sticking with your S tier ranking?
I am.
Okay. Why?
Why? I thought that's what the last
hour
has been about.
You talked about it. Yeah.
Look, I have played mini games, and I've loved mini games. There are lots of games I consider like personal favorites. But again, it's been 32 years, and I have yet to decide that I like a game better than Final Fantasy VI.
All right, very good. So S, for anyone wondering out there, is a masterclass in gaming. This tier represents an all-time great, something easily recommended to all gamers, pinnacle of his genre, top 25 of all time, or near perfect. Could describe games placed here. If it's your number 1 of all time, then it definitely deserves to be in the S tier, based on those rankings alone. Now comes the question, where do I put it? Everyone knows I'm a big old curmudgeon. Everyone knows I hate things that are old and Japanese.
It's fair. I'm putting myself on hard mode with this.
You would think so, and you would be right. I'm honestly, here's what I'm going to talk it out with you. I'm between A and B. I don't want to disrespect this game, even though there are qualms with it because it's a game from 1994, which, hey, God, that's over 30 years ago. Just heads up. Don't want to think about how old I am, but it is. So there are definitely quality of life. There's small things in here and there, but it's so charming and it has so much influence. Like, I can see the actual influence instead of people telling me it's influential. I can actually see what it did, and I like the things, and I love that midway plot twist. So there's a lot of things here, even though I'm not a super huge fan of Final Fantasy. I do want to give this game more respect than I did to some other games in the past. I don't know. You haven't watched it yet.
Sounds like an A to me.
Oh, well, I'm between A and B. It's just so funny.
And I say Adam, A for Adam, A for Final Fantasy is all I'm saying. There's lots of A's in Final Fantasy. There's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's also
for
some
Final
F's.
Fantasy 3.
There's also F's. I don't have an F tier. We can
that's for Finn though. That's for Finn. The F's are for Finn. The A's are for Adam. And so there we go.
Maybe. So A is excellence in gaming, widely regarded as fantastic games most people would enjoy. This tier could represent personal favorites, games that stand out amongst the best in a genre, or game of the year material. B is great games. This tier could be recommended to fans of the genre or hardcore players. This could represent generally well-received games, popular in their time, or represented by a sizable fan base. And based on my experience with it,
well, I'm just saying, pinnacle of its genre is S-Class.
Yeah.
So, as someone that isn't admittedly big on the RPG genre, I feel like it's your duty to take guidance from someone who that is their genre.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I like RPGs, just not Final Fantasy specifically.
And that's fair. But also top 25 of all time, you will consistently find Final Fantasy VI listed in people's top 25 of all time. Lots of influential and huge outlets have put it as such. And obviously that does by itself doesn't mean anything. Like just because someone else's opinion says that doesn't necessarily mean you have to. But I'm just saying in terms of recognizing that I am not an outlier on this one.
Oh no, yeah. I would be the outlier. Hey, I put Yakuza Like a Dragon in the D tier, my guy. I did not give a shit about what my guest.
I did not know that.
Oh, I did not like that video game. Not even a little bit.
That's funny.
This game, though, I'm going to give it its flowers. I think this deserves to be an A tier game. I'm going to drop it right there in the A tier. This actually made me want to come back to it and enjoy it and finish the story and see everything about it. Got to suplex a train. That was fun. And yeah, I didn't hate the characters.
Did you actually do the suplex?
Yeah, well, I saw how you're supposed to do it, so I did the suplex train. Yeah,
fantastic.
That was fun. Yeah, I'm going to give it an A tier. I'm going to give it its flowers, even though I have not finished it, and it's not necessarily my thing. I did enjoy it enough, which says a lot. And then I see for me, it's more the influences, like the fact that Octopath Traveler and Fire Emblem are just this game, but newer. I'm like, okay, and those are games that I like, so I'll give it its flowers. And it being at the end of the season, if I want to pull some chicanery on the season recap, I can. I'll drop this down to a D tier if you don't. You know.
Why? Why would you hurt me?
I wouldn't do that to you. Well, I mean, I could.
Man. But you could. You could, but I'm asking why. Why would you do such a horrible, mean thing?
I won't be a stinker. So, here it is. Finn has decided to put it in the S tier. I have decided to put it in the A tier, but this is not the end of it. This is now the call to action, everyone. You can go to patreon.com/thetierlist or look in the description of the podcast, every podcast, for a link to a straw poll where you can decide where you think Final Fantasy VI deserves to be on the tier list. Your vote will absolutely sway the outcomes of these end-of-season rankings, so make sure to go do that. It's always been fun to allow people to have their voices.
Am I able to know the other games from the season?
Yes. I'm going to make a post, Blue Sky, Adam Gumby, or youtube.com/Adam Gumby, where every game of the season. But you just vote per game. But yeah, every episode has a straw poll link that you can vote on. So I can send it to you. So yeah, make sure to go do that. At the end of the season, we're going to tally these votes up very soon. So it's your last chance. Thank you once again, Finn. This has been a fun time. Thank you for making me play a cool, interesting game I never would have touched otherwise. Tell everyone about yourself really quick before we leave and get out of here.
Yeah, so I'm at NOLAnerdcast on everything. I like to just chat with people. I like to be stupid sometimes. I have terrible puns.
Great puns.
I'm a game dad. I love that aspect of my life. It's super fun. I wear absurdly colorful clothing. That's not really necessary to know me, but it's still a fun little fact. NOLAnerdcast. Hit me up. I like watch watch my show. I just rebooted it. I've got lots of cool episodes focused on the guests that I'm with. Adam was on with for episode 5. We chatted about what brings him joy and his gaming journey. You should go check that out. Do reviews. Started doing written reviews. That's fun.
That's always fun.
I'm like writing stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's been fun. It's been fun getting back into it. Also, if you've played Tokyo Extreme Racer on Steam or PlayStation 5, that was me. You're welcome.
I did see that.
That was fun.
That. It was neat. Very cool. But thank you again for coming on. Season 2 finale. I appreciate it. You brought a fun game. And you're a great guest. And I love your suits and your dad humor. Because let me tell you, same kind of humor right over here. I'm into it.
Yeah, that's why we get along.
Very cool. But
all right, buddy.
Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Make sure to go vote on the Season 2 games. We'll have a recap very soon in the month of August. And have a good one, y'all.
Heck yeah.